An advanced persistent threat is an attacker that persists inside your network. So that's where the persistent threat comes from. Inside your network for a long period of time, in many cases months or even potentially years. It's a type of one of the most advanced attackers because they tend to use very, very good what is called tradecraft, which is the attacking techniques. They then attempt to remain hidden inside your network while they then potentially gather information, exfiltrate data, and do whatever it is that they as a group are going to do. The most common targets for APT attacks tend to be governments and enterprises, particularly in certain industries such as defense or medical research or things that potentially would be some value for espionage. The majority of APT groups, as they're called, are often government-backed. In fact, you'll probably find that most governments around the world have some form of cyber offensive group that attempts to penetrate into opposition, and by opposition that could be any country, networks and systems around the world. That can be for espionage purposes, i.e. industrial, or it could be for defense purposes to obviously find out, what people are building, what they're planning and so on. But it can also be for commercial purposes. There are a number of APT groups that exist primarily to actually make money for their governments. Well, APT threats, because of their very nature, tend to be a little bit scary because they're government-backed and they're often not just in it for the money. They potentially will go further than a common criminal group in attempting to penetrate a network and to remain hidden inside the network. And increasingly, sometimes APT groups are going after smaller enterprises and businesses as well. Because there are some of the groups that are actually looking for money. So trying to defend yourself against these APT groups is a fairly difficult and complex thing. And what you basically need to do is obviously look at the security fundamentals. So things like network hygiene are extremely important. But also you need to be looking at more sort of advanced security systems such as endpoint detect and response, potentially honeypots, training users to look for anything that's potentially suspicious, and just maintain, very, very good a security posture inside your network and have as many layers as you can afford as an organization.